You've probably seen my name, may have talked to me on the phone a couple times. This is what I look like in person. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics tonight. We'll go through expectations, what you should expect from your virtual teacher, what we have in our expectations for both students and parents, how to supply a proper setting for your child at home or your student at home, and also some of the software that we're using so far this year. We're going to start out with Ms. Hughes from the School of Inquiry and Ms. Wilson from Louisville Middle School to talk about some of the counseling services that are still offered to our students even though they're in the virtual academy. Because one thing to keep in mind is even though your student is enrolled and taking their classes with the virtual academy, they are still a student at their home school. So anything that goes on at their home school, whether it be a club or an after-school activity or a sport or anything along those lines, they still have access to those things. So please, feel free to reach out to the counselor at the home school or the administration at the home school if you have any questions about becoming involved in different things. But I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Wilson and Ms. Hughes.
Good evening. Good evening. All right, I know it's been a long day. It's been a long day for us too, but I do want to first say thank you for coming out tonight. That shows that you take an active interest in your child's education. Before I start, I do want to preface that the things that we discussed, they're not just for virtual school students, but they're also for our students who come for hybrid face-to-face. Because they spend 3 days a week at home from that same setting. So the first thing we want to touch on, we just want to provide some tips. You may already be doing most of these things. If not, try to incorporate them, and it might make that remote learning experience a lot more successful and a lot less stressful. The first thing we want to talk about is creating a virtual learning space. Make sure when you do your schoolwork, you pick an area in your home that has less traffic, people are not in and out, that's quiet and well lit. I know we're at home and we get comfortable and we want to lay across the bed or lounge on the couch, but at least try to sit maybe at the kitchen table in an upright position so that you have a table and a chair and you have space for all of your materials as well as your laptop. Also, try to eliminate distractions. Turn the TV off. Some of us do work well with music, and I think that's okay as long as it's something that's kind of mellow. Not anything that you're going to hop up and start dancing to because it's your favorite song. But even using headphones and earbuds, that's going to help drown out some of that noise if there happens to be a lot of people in the home. And also, if you're attending a class meeting and you're on screen, make sure that your attire is appropriate. If you wouldn't wear it to school, don't wear it on camera either. The next thing I want to hit on is creating a schedule. Mr. Spencer kind of talked about this, but time management is going to be important when you're either a virtual student or a hybrid student. With a virtual student, you kind of have to plan your schedule around how your teacher has your day set up or how many classes that you have. But kids need structure and they need consistency, and it's probably gonna lessen the arguments you have because you're eliminating what comes next. If you have a schedule, then you already know what comes next. Also, school is 5 days a week, whether you're hybrid or virtual. With the hybrid students, I'm seeing that on those e-learning days, depending on what cohort you're in, some of those students maybe are taking it as, I don't have to do work that day, but you have school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. When you're not there, you should be doing the work your teacher has assigned. For virtual students, you know that you're there every day online. And the completion of your work plays a part when it comes to your grades and also your attendance. We're seeing that a lot of hybrid students are taking those 3 days not so seriously, but they're going to affect you. So make sure you're doing your work 5 days a week. Also, when you're creating your schedule your breaks, like your breakfast, your lunch, time to move around. Make sure that you get your related arts in there as well. If you have a spot in your schedule, I do want to recommend maybe signing your child up for some type of free typing course. I know that we don't, when I went to school, we had keyboarding, you had your floppy disk and that sort of thing, and we type really fast, but now they don't really have, unless in the selective, a keyboarding class, especially for the little people, so that way they can get some practice in. Also, create a notebook or a sheet that they can easily access that has their usernames and passwords, because we know that they are accessing a whole lot of websites, and because they're creating their own username and passwords, their teacher's not going to have access to that information. So if they didn't write it down, then there's no way to log in, I guess, unless they create a new account. But put all that information either on one sheet and post it in your virtual learning space, or create a notebook just so it's handy. And I do want to encourage those students who are hybrid, on your off days, stick to your schedule. That means go to bed at the same time. Don't stay up all night playing Fortnite and everything else. And then when you do have to come to school, you're tired because you stayed up really late the night before on your off day. So just try to incorporate a daily schedule and having that virtual learning space. We know that lots going on, and some households have multiple kids and parents are trying to help multiple kids at one time. But if you incorporate some of this stuff, it'll lessen, I guess, all the chaos that could be created. But if everybody's on the schedule and everybody has their space, I think it'll work a lot better.
Make sure you stay social while virtual, meaning make sure your child shows up at the meeting time when they're supposed to. Make sure that they're attending all the classes. Make sure that you are contacting those teachers or reaching out to those teachers if you have any questions. Although the teacher may be at another school, you can also reach out to us, the school counselors. If you can't reach that teacher, we're more than willing to get on the phone to make calls to try to get the answers you may need. Another thing is monitor the sites that your child is on, because some people may have gotten the Khajiits. The Khajiit is limited on data, so make sure that you monitor and make sure that the child is not on Fortnite, Facebook, or whatever social media website, because when that data is gone for the day, it is gone. It's nothing else. Maintain a good emotional health. Take your child out. Let them have breaks, do things like that, because this is a stressful time. Not only for you, but it's stressful for your student, it's stressful for us. We're gonna go get in those classrooms. We're setting up links so kids can log on or come in and have sessions with the counselor. Make sure if your child has anxiety or suffer from anything, make sure they're reaching out to that counselor. If the counselor doesn't have a link right now, it's coming. Trust and believe it's coming. But if it's not there right now, pick up the phone, call the counselor. Parent role. Make sure again that you're reaching out to those teachers, advocating for your child, because at the school, if you're having a problem virtual, we don't know unless you reach out to us. And of course, we're going to reach out to Mr. Spencer, Ms. Wilson, but first kind of reach out to your home school, because that question, we may can answer that question at the home school, okay? Give your child opportunity to complete work on their own. If they're online and you're working from home too, try not to help your child. You may know the answer, you may hear the teacher say something, but don't help your child. Give your child enough time to work that problem out or work through the session with the teacher, and later, help your child. Just like if they were at school, Also, remember, even though the teacher has a break, the teacher is still teaching. Your child may have a break, the teacher is still teaching. They may be in another session with another group of kids. So if you email that teacher and the teacher doesn't get back to you quick, just know that teacher is still teaching. Those virtual teachers are very, very busy, and their caseload is busy. They have a lot of students, okay? Anybody got any questions? I think Ms. Hughes has something else to say.
Just to piggyback on that, not just virtual teachers, but hybrid teachers too. If you have students that are in hybrid mode, they are teaching Monday through Thursday. So they just have their planning periods that are free. So they'll be accessible during that time and after school, as well as on Friday. So just keep in mind that your teachers, the teacher may not get right back to you, but they will get in touch with you. So I just think in this whole process, everybody has to give everybody a little bit more grace, and we have to practice patience. And if we all work together, family and school, teachers, counselors, administration, bus drivers, everybody, we will get through this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very valuable information, and we will cover some of those things again as we advance through the evening. So the first thing I'm going to touch on is Virtual Academy 101. What are some of the things that you need to know as a parent and our students need to know as we continue through this school year? And a lot of this I put together because I'm living the same life that you are. When I go home in the evenings, I sit in your chair because I have a 4th grader and a 6th grader that are both doing virtual education at home. So I get to experience the same type of things that I hear you talk to me about on the phone. And I share that with just about everybody that calls me because I think it kind of calms you down a little bit to know that you're talking to someone that's actually dealing with the same type things. When I get home in the evening, we immediately go back to school because there's a lot of things that we have to go over. I have to check and make sure, and my 6th grader, and I know this is our 6 through 12 session, a lot of times when those students hit middle school and they start having those middle school feelings and the way they act towards their parents, my son doesn't always want me going into his computer and checking his things and going into his email and making sure he's doing what he needs to do, but I'm still going to do it because I'm his daddy. And that's my role in this whole thing, is to go behind him and make sure he's doing everything he needs to do. Because I know when I walk in the door and I say, hey, how's school go today? Fine. Did you get everything done? Yep. All right, let's go check it, because you just saying that to me. So our program goals, number 1, is to provide a safe learning environment for our students. And trust me when I say this, I understand that not everyone signed up for virtual because your dream has always been to be a virtual student or a virtual student's parent. We understand that. We were pushed into this situation by a pandemic. You know, that's why a lot of us are here. So Ms. Hughes mentioned a very important word. She said grace. So we're doing our very best as teachers and staff members to give grace to both our students and parents, but we also ask for that in return. Because some of our teachers have kind of been pushed into this as well because of the pandemic. And this is new for us. So as we go through this software and we're experimenting with things, it's new for us just like it's new for you. So we're providing that safe learning environment because that's what you asked for. You wanted a place for your child to be able to do his schoolwork and study and get the things that they need without being exposed to a virus that could happen inside the school. Number 2, we want to allow each student the opportunity to meet their maximum potential. And we'll talk about expectations as we continue through, but our expectations in virtual school are at minimum the same as the brick and mortar classroom, if not higher, because we have extra time. We have the opportunity to ask our students to branch out and do some different things. And finally, we want to create partnerships with students, parents, and our community in order to create those pathways to student success. And a key word for our presentation tonight is going to be communication. You'll hear me say that over and over, but it's not just the teacher communicating information to the student. The student needs to be communicating with the teacher. We need to be emailing, we need to be messaging in our software platforms, and you as the parent need to be communicating as well. And like Ms. Hughes said, hey, and Ms. Wilson, if you can't get the teacher, call the office. That's what me and the wonderful Ms. Wilson sitting right here, that's what we do all day long. We try to solve as many problems as we possibly can. Expectations for our teacher, this is the expectation you should have for your child's teacher. There should be daily class meetings. And that's for core content classes, and we'll touch on our elective and related arts here in just a minute. There should be whole group sessions. There should be small group sessions. Now we're pushing, and I'm pushing, our teachers to start doing more pre-recorded lessons instead of having a whole group session. And we're pushing for that for a couple different reasons. Number one, like we said earlier, the Khajiits run out. So if we have pre-recorded lessons and you have a Khajiit, you can get up first thing in the morning, fire up that Khajiit, download the videos, and we'll talk about how to do that. Download the videos, download your assignments, and you're good to go for the day. And then you have whatever's left on that Khajiit to jump into a small group if need be. Communication during office hours. Now, I am bad about it, and I hear it from my wife constantly. You know, I'm surprised she hadn't made me charge my cell phone outside at night. But I am bad. If I get an email from a parent or a teacher at 10 o'clock at night, I'll reply to it because it comes to my phone. But our teachers have families too. And like when I said, hey, I go home and I start school with my kids, that's what our teachers are doing as well. We have kids, we have families. So please respect that. Please send your emails. If you need to email one of us, absolutely send it. But don't always expect an answer to come immediately. It may be the next morning, it may be sometime the next day once we hit our office hours, but we will definitely get back in touch with you. And if you email me and you don't hear back in what you think is a reasonable amount of time, email me again, because I will say my inbox is a little bit of a swamp right now, and sometimes things get lost. So if you don't hear back from me, please email me again. Support from our teachers. You need to expect your child's teacher to identify students that need academic support. So if your child is struggling, that teacher will reach out to you and say, hey, we need to schedule some one-on-one time. We need to schedule some additional small group time. And you also need to think, I want my child's teacher to have high expectations and hold my student accountable. If they're not doing their work, that teacher needs to let me know. They need to communicate almost immediately. From our students, we expect daily attendance. Be on time and in attendance every day, both mentally and physically. That's exceptionally important. I put that word mentally there because sometimes we'll have students kind of plop down in front of that computer and it looks like, hey, they might have went to bed at 3 o'clock this morning and rolled over and turned this thing on just so they get counted present. That student needs to be part of the classroom. They need to mentally be present as well as physically. We also expect effort. I know that when schools were shut down by the state of South Carolina back in March, you know, what happened between March and June was not ideal. It was not perfect. It was something that popped up and we responded to it as quickly and as effectively as we could. But this is not that. Virtual education and what we did in March are not the same thing. This is school. And that needs to be the expectation every single day. When that student gets up in the morning, I'm going to school. Now that walk to school may be shorter. Instead of getting on a bus and driving a few miles, I'm walking to the kitchen table. But when I get to that kitchen table, I'm at school. Expectation for communication. Sometimes as teachers, especially if I'm a teacher and I have 50 students per class, and I have 4 classes a day, that's 200 students in total. That's an astronomical number of students to keep track of. So if your student needs help, they need to reach out to us. Don't wait for us. We're going to find them, but don't wait. If you know you need help, reach out to us immediately. And also, our students need to have high expectations. They need to expect their teachers to teach them in a way that is going to allow them to reach their maximum potential. I should not have any lower expectations just because we're in a virtual setting instead of the brick and mortar setting. For parents, number one expectation when we're talking about virtual education is internet access. Students must have reliable internet service to be a successful virtual student. That's a must. The Khajiits don't work all the time. So there has to be a backup plan. If that backup plan is going to another member of the family's house and using their Wi-Fi, if it's coming to the parking lot of the school and downloading assignments and videos, if it's going to the public library or McDonald's or wherever there's some free Wi-Fi to hook into, That's what we've got to be committed to do, because we have got to want the best for our students. We also need a learning space. Ms. Wilson and Ms. Hughes did a great job of explaining exactly what that is. But sometimes that learning environment at home needs to be structured a little bit more. Because we're seeing some things in our conferences and in our team meetings that we shouldn't see. Make sure, and a lot of this is elementary, but also at the upper levels, the students there are ready to go, and then we'll see Daddy walk by because he forgot that the camera was on and he hadn't put his shirt or his pants on yet. And it happens. So make sure that you're giving them that space in the house for it to be school. Also, communication again. Contact your teacher. Contact the administration. If you have any issues, if it's with a teacher, if it's with content, if it's with, hey, I don't know if my student's getting their work done, I just want to check in. Call us. That's what we're here for. Call, email, get in touch with us. And also that partnership between parents, teachers, and administration to ensure that the students are completing everything they need to, and to make sure that any issue you come across, we can handle it. I told the group that we met with on Tuesday night, this is new for me as an administrator, because I'm the type of person that I like human touch. I walk down the hall, I slap kids on the back, we fist bump, I throw my arm around them if I think they look like they got a problem. I'm all about that. But in this environment, I don't get to do that. And neither do our students. So if there's a problem, sometimes we don't know it needs to be fixed until you reach out and tell us. I've had multiple parents call and say, hey, I'm generally not that parent to reach out and call the school, or I don't want to be a tattletale parent. Be a tattletale parent. If there's something that's going on that I need to know about, please tell me, because we can't fix problems that we don't know exist. So, how does our program work? What does it look like at the middle and high school level? Middle school schedule. You're going to have 4 core classes. That's your math, your English, your science, and your social studies. Each one of those is 70 minutes. Each one of our middle school teams, 6th, 7th, and 8th, they're having live meetings to start their class. They're breaking into small groups. Each team has a schedule that has been shared with you and shared on the team's website. Your child will have one related art. It will be PE or business ed. They'll do one this semester and one next semester. Now, in our schedule, the middle school schedule is still broken into 6 periods. That related art class is 45 minutes. Coupled with that, they also have a 45-minute study period where they can use that 45 minutes to complete assignments for any other class, to jump on with a teacher for one-on-one help, anything they may need. So don't let them make you think, oh, I got so much work in PE, I couldn't get my homework done. No, that's not what it's about. They can take a break during that time, sure. But it's also a time to get done anything